Hello, good morning. My name's Alan Twig, and you're listening to the Alan Twig podcast. How are you? How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're finding things to do and finding inspiration and motivation in this very strange times that we're living through with the whole coronavirus thing. As I speak this morning, the President of America is in hospital. The whole world is going crazy. But I'm here to help make it maybe a little bit more sane, to help us through this time. And this morning I was wanting to think about why there's never ever been a better time to go vegan or to move to a plant-based diet. I presume if you're listening to this podcast that you're either already plant-based and looking for inspiration to stay on the diet, or you're one of those people who's just interested, who's maybe, if you're listening to this, you've probably reached a point where you're thinking, maybe a plant-based diet is for me. Maybe it's something I should be thinking about. The good news is, on so many fronts, is there's never, ever been a better time than now for moving to a plant-based diet. The first reason is, apart from anything else, just convenience. Anybody who went plant-based 30 years ago, 20 years ago, or even just 10 years ago faced a completely different landscape than the one that welcomes you today when you walk into the doors of one of those big supermarkets. There is so much more selection now than there used to be. So there's lots of convenience plant-based products. The range of things like plant-based milks is just taken off, hasn't it? I mean, if you can't have failed to have seen the sheer number and variety of all those plant-based milks that now adorn the shelves of our supermarkets. Really fantastic. They're really tasty plant-based chocolate bars. There are tasty plant-based breakfast cereals. There's just an incredible range of vegan plant-based products that we can now embrace. And so it's time actually to start thinking, okay, so up until now, if you're anything like me, you might have been using convenience as a little bit of an excuse not to tip your toe into the water of going plant-based. But it's getting increasingly difficult, isn't it, to use convenience as an excuse with the vegan cafes. Kentucky Fried Chicken just recently announced that they were offering a vegan option. I read yesterday that McDonald's were offering now a vegan burger based, I think, on the Beyond Burger, which, if you haven't tried, it's really, really good. I mean, my wife, she really detests fast food restaurants. Like, she avoids them like the plague. Let's not mention the plague too much, but she does. She always has avoided them. But when the Beyond Burger arrived here in Tenerife, we went to a cafe in one of those little side streets in Puerto de la Cruz, and they offer it's not a vegan place. It offers normal burgers and also the Beyond Burger. So we tried it, and she absolutely loved it. And I asked the waitress, I said, you get lots of people coming here for normal burgers or Beyond Burgers. How are sales going of the plant-based option? And she told me it's unbelievable. She said that most people order the Beyond Burger, even the meat eaters. It's that good. So the world is changing, the landscape's changing. It's really a lot easier now for us to just go out and get convenience food that's plant-based, to get all the ingredients that we need to cook up healthy plant-based meals. So yeah, there's never been a better time because it's never been more convenient. Another reason that there's never been a better time for going plant-based is just the sheer support that you can get now. You know, if we go back to my example from before, I can imagine that going on a vegan diet or a plant-based diet 20 years ago probably would have been a very lonely place to be. I mean, it's almost incredible now, but 20 years ago, you know, Facebook didn't exist. YouTube was also didn't exist, to be fair. The search engines were just coming out, bursting out onto the scene. You could find information, but you remember what it was like at that time, little flashing lights, and there weren't the websites and the information even 20 years ago just wasn't there. So it was a case of having to read books, having to find people who were also on a vegan or plant-based diet in your neighborhood. It was just so much more difficult to get information, to find out what it's all about. And one of the great things now, one of the reasons why it's a fantastic time to move on to a plant-based diet, is just the sheer amount of information. I made an online course called Plant-Based Heroes, for example. At the moment, if you're listening to this, if you're one of my first listeners and you're interested at the moment, so it's now the 4th of October, 2020. If you're listening to this now and you're interested, I'm offering a free trial. So you can go on there. There are 8 modules. But my course is just one of a number of places where you can get information on how to move to a plant-based diet, how to move to a vegan diet. You've got documentaries, I mean, really good documentaries as well, like Forks Over Knives and Cowspiracy, The Game Changers. Now, The Game Changers actually changed the life of my son, Tom. My son, Tom, is 24 years old and he's always been one of those people who has no self-control whatsoever. The ability to resist temptation is a real asset, and he hasn't got it, or he didn't have it until this year. So I'd been nudging him, and my daughter Leah had been nudging him in the direction of a plant-based diet. We've been telling him all the crazy benefits of doing it, but you know what it's like. If your dad's telling you something, then you know you just ignore it, don't you? But he loves going to the gym, and he was in the gym working out, and one of the other guys in there who had one of these fantastic bodies that Tom idolized, he got talking to him. Tom, my son, got talking to him, and this guy said to him, well, actually, I'm plant-based. I eat a pure vegan diet. Tom was amazed, because he thought, like many of us do, that if you're working out, if you need to build muscles, you need protein, which means, of course, you should be eating meat. But no, this guy said to him, look, if you want to know why to go plant-based, watch The Game Changers. This isn't just one of those documentaries that are available now. So Tom, my son, he watched The Game Changers, which if you're an athletic or sporting kind of person, I highly recommend that you watch as well. And it literally changed his view completely on what he was doing. And in the last 6 months, he's now, and this is really true, this is no joke, he's dropped all meat and dairy from his diet. He's cut right down on his drinking, and he stopped smoking. And for the first time in his life, he's actually got money left at the end of the month. This is like an incredible development. And so the fact that we've got so many places to go now for information means that it's one of the best times to be alive as far as going vegan or plant-based is concerned. So there's never been a better time to go plant-based, just because we've got so much information literally at our fingertips, in the palm of our hand on our mobile phone. And the support as well. You know, there are forums, there are all sorts of places where people come together online to exchange opinions. To if you've got a question, you can ask questions. I'm also setting up a Facebook group where we can exchange, where we can talk to each other about the pros and cons, motivate each other. So it's a great time to think about ditching the meat and dairy and going vegan, just simply from a point of view of the support and information that's available. So how do I start the next one? The next one is a big one. The next one is a big one, and I'm going to tackle it. I know this podcast may become a little bit irrelevant with time, but so be it. At the moment, it's just one of those things we absolutely need to talk about. There's never been a better time to start a plant-based diet because of your health, and in particular, the coronavirus. You know, one of the best ways of supporting our immune system is to move to a plant-based vegan diet. There's nothing, literally nothing, that will help your immune system, help you fight viruses, help you fight chronic disease, so from heart disease to type 2 diabetes, cancer, you name it, and you'll benefit by being on a plant-based diet. And if you think about the craziness with this coronavirus, with all the conflicting facts that are flying around, you know, we had the famous prediction from the from Neil Ferguson from the Oxford College, didn't we? And he suggested that, you know, 500,000 people were going to die in the UK if we didn't lock down. And then you've got other people who point out that that was a massively huge overestimate, and actually people now believe that it's actually overestimated by a factor of 12, which is quite surprising. But there's so much conflicting information out there. The mainstream media is terrifying people, isn't it? You know, every time we switch on the television, we're told about the rising number of cases, the rising number of hospitalizations, the fact that we won't be able to live a normal life ever again. All this craziness is going on. And this also leads to anxiety. And I spoke about this yesterday in my podcast yesterday. The thing is, our mental health is also affected by going on a plant-based diet. So when we cut out the meat and dairy, and I am repeating slightly what I mentioned before, but hey, maybe you are listening to this and not the other one. But when we cut out the meat and dairy from our diet, we automatically cut out the suffering that we ingest. So if we eat meat and dairy, we're also consuming the fear and the suffering that those animals endured and then fell at the moment of their death. And my belief, and but the belief of many actually, is that we actually ingest that fear into our bodies, which makes us more anxious as individuals, but also the whole society becomes more anxious. So it's like group anxiety. But when we cut out meat and dairy from our diet and start just eating plants instead of the suffering, we're eating healthy, fresh food, and our anxiety levels drop. One of the biggest changes that I noticed when I moved to a vegan plant-based diet was that I became far less anxious, that I felt more calm, I was able to concentrate better, I was able to focus better. And I'm not the only one. A lot of people who go on a vegan diet also experience this same change in mood. So excuse me while I take a drink of coffee. So with all this craziness going around, and I need to be as mentally healthy, as healthy on a mental level as we possibly can. The thing is, you know, with all this lockdown nonsense, in my opinion, slightly overdone, because when we separate ourselves from others, when we're not allowed to visit our loved ones, when we're not allowed to gather in groups, when singing is banned, they've actually banned singing here in Spain, and I know also in the UK, where I'm from, singing is also banned. So when you ban singing, when you ban loud music, when you ban dancing's also banned. All of these things we absolutely need as humans. When all of these things are banned and we're spending more times indoors, which automatically means we're not getting as much vitamin C and vitamin D, it affects our immune system. It weakens us. It also, if we're eating a normal diet, we've got all this, like as I explained before, we've got all this anxiety and fear that we're ingesting. So we have to do something. We should be doing something to counterbalance, to counteract that, to be honest, quite extreme situation that we've got at the moment. People don't realize how stressed we all are at the moment. But by taking a little bit of control back, because we've had so much control over our own lives removed from us, haven't we? The governments all over the world have taken away a lot of our liberties. Now, you can argue that that was necessary or not, but regardless of whether you think that was necessary or not, the reality is we are not as self-determined as we were just 7 or 8 months ago. So by grasping the nettle and saying, okay, this is surely a perfect time to take back some control, to take back the control over perhaps one of the most important aspects of everybody's life, which is our food and our diet, basically what we eat. So when we make that decision and we say, okay, I'm going to give this a go, I'm going to try to go plant-based, I don't have to do it all at once, maybe step by step, but I'm going to give it a go. We take back some control. We automatically start to feel a little bit better about ourselves. And when we remove some of the meat and dairy that we've been eating, and we start to replace that with healthy plant foods and healthy fiber, which improves our digestion, our cholesterol level starts to fall. We start to feel that we've got more energy. We're doing something to counteract the madness that is going on at the moment. So surely, if there's ever been a time to think about doing it, surely it's nice. Surely it's now. And another thing as well, I mean, we've all got different situations. My personal situation is that at the moment, because I'm not traveling, because I can't visit my family, because of all the restrictions, I'm automatically spending a lot more time at home. And I think a lot of us find ourselves in this position, don't we? I think a lot of us are now a lot more at home than we were maybe 6 or 7 months ago. And if you're one of those people, it just gives yet another reason to maybe think about embracing a plant-based diet, because when we make significant changes in our lives and moving completely your diet away from meat and dairy, if you're on a meat and dairy based diet, to something that's plant-based, it's really nice if we've got time to experiment in the kitchen, which gives us something better to do than just sit around watching TV and on our screens, doesn't it? So we can start to maybe experiment in the kitchen. I was never a cook. I was one of those people who just bought convenience meals, you know. I'm talking about the time before I moved to a vegan diet. I didn't spend any time in the kitchen at all. And what I've discovered is it's fantastic. You can make really healthy, delicious food. You can save money. And one of the great things, not everybody can do this, my wife finds it difficult, but for me, I really enjoy listening while I'm cooking. So I've got a pair of Bluetooth headphones, and I can listen to a podcast, or I can listen to some news, or I can listen to music or whatever. And the process of actually cooking and preparing food and so on is actually a really enjoyable one. So surely now, with the time we've got on our hands, especially this, there's a long winter coming up, isn't there? I mean, if you're in the UK or the US, we've got the sixth, or the Canada even, we've got 6 months now of darkness and cold, and we can't go to the pub, can we? We can't go to the theatre, that's been banned. There's all these things that we might used to have done that we now can't do. So maybe it's the perfect time to think about doing something, taking on a challenge, because we've actually got the time now to maybe start cooking, start preparing food, start thinking about what we can do. And it's surely the ideal opportunity. The time is now. So yeah, that's another really compelling reason why there's never been a better time to go plant-based. So I've just heard my wife coming through the door. She's just been out for her morning walk, which means that I have to now bring this podcast, today's podcast, to an end. I hope you found the information interesting, and I hope it's given you a little bit of food for thought. I'm just new to this. I'm going to post some details in the podcast notes. I'm the author of a book, and I'm the creator of a course on how to get moved to a plant-based diet, which is a really comprehensive course that takes you through absolutely every aspect you could ever want of the whole process. So once again, thank you very much for being with me this morning, and being with me in my starting phase. Maybe you'll be one of those people who stays with me over the coming years, because I very much intend to see this through. It's a very interesting thing, and I'm hoping to get some fantastic guests on as well. So I hope you're having a nice weekend. I hope you have a great week. I hope you're doing well, and thanks for being with me here today. Thank you. Bye-bye.